What's up, guys? So I was shopping at Whole Foods today and I was checking out, and as I was checking out there was a woman in front of me, and I could sense like she was paying attention to my food, and she was really beautiful, and she just kept looking at me and kind of smiling, and it was making me kind of blush a little bit, to the point where I finally just turned to her and went, "I'm vegan." And she started laughing, and the reason was because if you look at my cart, it always gets people, whenever I'm checking out, it always gets people's attention, because most people have, chicken, your vegetables, your fruit, your starches. It's kind of a mix of a bunch of different things. But my cart is like tons of bananas, like a ton of bananas. Actually, when I was checking out, when I was at the banana section, I kept filling my cart with bananas, and this older woman was just like smiling at me, and I turned to her and I was like, "I really like bananas," and again started laughing. So there's this fascination I've noticed with veganism. There's a fascination in my life, to finish up with this one woman. She just said, by the look of what you had, I thought you were having like a smoothie party, or you're just planning on making a bunch of smoothies. And I said, yes, I mean, that is true. I'm not having a party, but it's basically, I'm buying bulk, and this is what I do. Like, I just eat a bunch of this type of food. And whenever I go shopping, whenever I go shopping, I get this sort of reaction, especially with the bananas, because I get a bunch. You go through them so quickly, and they're really, really cheap, which is nice. Really affordable you can get a lot for, really affordable price. When I go to like a restaurant, for example, or, going to a pizza place, they'll make vegan versions of the pizza. Even if it's not on the menu, they'll figure it out. I'm just like, hey, could you get it without cheese and just put like something else, tomato sauce and some extra vegetables? Most of the time, almost all the time, I get a really positive reaction from people. They kind of smile, like, okay, yeah, we can do that. And if you become a regular, like when I was in my mid-20s, I would go to this pizza place a lot, and they loved seeing my brother and I, because my brother is a vegetarian, but he plays with veganism. They'd be like, "Oh, it's the vegan people, what up?" And they just think it was kind of a fun thing. And I guess they liked us too, just kind of cool. But there is a fascination there. There's always a fascination because it's different. And I've gotten negative feedback from people too. Like older people will be like, "That's not right, that's not right, that's very unhealthy. You need to eat everything in moderation." So I just chill out and just agree with them. I go, yeah, it's just something I'm playing with. I agree with you. One of my family members actually got pretty enraged at the dinner table, and he was like, this granola generation, the men are not men. They don't eat animals. Like back in the day, we used to hunt deer, and it was part of like the ritual of becoming a man. Like, and maybe not to that detail of the description, but that's basically the vibe I'm getting from what my family member was giving off to me. And he said, "Why don't you get back on the horse and be a man, start eating meat again?" So he did say that. But then I explained myself. I said, "Look, first of all, I'm not following a fad. I've been vegan for almost 7 years. So yeah, it's been a minute. Second of all, I did this because I couldn't digest meat anymore. I couldn't digest dairy anymore. And the animal rights, all this stuff, I got into that once I started learning more about that. And now I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and debate people and tell them that they're wrong, because I think everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I don't judge anybody. I don't have that many. I only have a few friends that are actually vegan. You see what I'm saying? So it's not, for me, once I've seen those documentaries, like, that's in my brain. Like, I see what is at, I see where that food came from. You know, I see the process, so that's instilled in my brain. But you know, I might suggest like, hey, if you do want to see that perspective, you can watch this movie. And then I have friends that are like, I don't want to watch that because then I won't want to eat it anymore, and it'll just mess with my head. And that's, you know, that's fine. Like if that's how you feel about it, you know, a lot of people I know want to keep eating meat, but they don't want to see the process. Which again, like that's fine. Like you can do what you want. In terms of like being a vegan, I just find that I always get a reaction from people, you know, whether it's positive, negative, and I think today it's definitely becoming more common, so I think it's less surprising, which is kind of an interesting thing. But you know, some people say, is it for health, is it for the animals? And me, for years it really was just about the health, until more recently I started learning about the animal, and I was always like, oh yeah, no, it's cool that I'm doing this, I'm, you know, supporting animals in that respect. But then once I learned more about it in, you know, the dark side of the food industry, I was like, oh snaps, like okay, so now I get why people do it for the animal reasons as well. So cool beans, guys. That's my thoughts on, you know, people and my reaction from people, you know, to being vegan. And it is kind of interesting. So maybe if you guys have similar experiences, or have had similar experiences, like within your family too, you know, your family dynamic, because that's probably one of the most sensitive areas, I would say, because the outside world, those are strangers for the most part, but with your family, I mean, they're seeing you more often, they know you, so it's interesting. But yeah, you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys have had some interesting experiences. Cool beans, peace, have a good one.